Hello everyone. So today in this lecture we are going to discuss about random experiment, what is the basic definition of it, and then we'll be seeing our different types of events. So in this first we're going to discuss about the random experiment. Later we'll just get into our basic definition of probability and then how we'll be writing the probability and how we'll be finding the probability. So first, as I said, we'll start with the random experiment. So in random experiment, what is actually which experiment is actually called as a random? So experiment is said to be a random if it has more than one possible known outcomes, right? So if a experiment has more than one possible known outcomes which cannot actually predicted in advance, right? We can't actually predict in advance, right? So for that particular experiments we call them as random experiment. For example, we can say for example, you can see here throwing of a dice is a random experiment, or else we can say tossing a coin is also a kind of random experiment, right? So like this we'll be having our, we can take, these are our examples of our random experiment, right? So apart from this we should know what is actually a sample space and then what is actually a event called, right? So sample space is nothing but when we have a set of possible outcomes. So for a random experiment, we know for a random experiment we'll be having more than one possible known outcome, right? So in the sense, so sample space will have actually all the possible outcomes for a random experiment. So that particular set of all possible outcomes of a trail is nothing but called as our sample space, right? So how we actually denote the sample space here? So we actually denote the sample space using the alphabet S, right? So for an experiment, for example, we can see in initial random experiment while we are discussing, we have take an example of throwing a dice. So here consider the same thing, throwing a dice. So for a throwing a dice, it's a random experiment. So for this, what can be our sample space? So what are actually all possible outcomes for a dice? The possible outcomes will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So these are nothing but the set of our sample space. So which we actually denote it as S equal to, in a curly brackets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our sample space for a event that is throwing a dice, right? So this is of, for any random experiment we can write our sample space, which is nothing but set of all possible outcomes for that particular trail, right? So we generally denote it by capital S. We actually represent that by using that. So apart from sample space, we should even know what is actually event to get into our basic concept of probability. So now let us see and get into what is event, how we'll be writing a event, right? So event is nothing but it's a subset of our sample space, right? So every subset of our sample space is nothing but our event, right? So now we have seen what is actually a random experiment. From there we have actually denoted our sample space. Now from sample space we have to write our event, where our event is nothing but a subset of a sample space. So we are actually continuing the same example from random experiment and then our sample space. So now we'll see the same example here for our event. So now my event is nothing but throwing a dice. What will be the sample space? So the sample space will be S equal to 1 to 6, all the set of total outcomes. So that is actually denoted by S. So my number of elements in S, that is number of elements in sample space, is nothing but N of S, which will be equal to 6. So the total number of elements present in the particular event is nothing but 6. So now we just get into our event. So event is nothing but, for example, if I asked you the chance or event of getting an odd number, event of getting an even number. So if it's an even number, then it will be 2, 4 and 6. So our event will be this. So this, let it be event 2. So if it is an event of getting an odd number, then it will be 1, 3, 5. So let the event E1 for odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5 is a set. And then for event of getting an even number will be equal to 2, 4 and 5. So if we observe, both our events, event 1 and 2, are nothing but subsets of our sample space, right? So from here number of elements in E1 can be written as 3. Similarly, number of elements in the event 2 is also 3. So from here, from this example also, we can show and see that our event is nothing but it's a simply subset of our sample space, right? So now we have seen what is a random experiment, sample space, and then event, our very basic concept. So now let's get into our different types of events. So in terms of our different types of events, the first we're going to discuss is about a simple event. Right, so which event can be called as a simple event? So when we call a simple event, so we know our sample space will have all the possible outcomes, right? So simple event is nothing but it's an event which actually contain only a single sample point, which means only one single element from the sample sets. Sample space, it can be anything, but it will be only a single sample point, which means only one element in our event. So that particular event is called as our simple event. So let me take an example. We'll continue the same example. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, this is nothing but for throwing a dice. This is our sample space. So if I am talking about an event which is neither prime nor even, then it will be only the element 1, right? Neither prime nor composite, sorry. So this will be our 1. So if I take event 1, so this is the set where I am having, this is the event where I am having only a single element from my sample space. So this particular event is called as simple event, right? So how we have a simple event? We will be having the opposite of it, which is nothing but called as our compound events, right? So it can be called as even compound events or as decomposable events. So both are actually same. So preferably we use compound events max of the time. So let's go ahead with that as a compound events. So compound events are nothing but having more than 2 elements. So 2 or more than 2, right? So in a simple element, we'll be having only one element from the sample space. So compound elements is nothing but it will be having 2 or more than 2 elements. So simple and compound are nothing but opposite to each other, right? So these are our basic two events we can we have in our probability or else our different kinds of events. So that is our simple event and then our compound events. So now let's see the next event, that is our mutually exclusive or else disjoint events. So if you remember, if you observe this name of disjoint, it's actually quite familiar for us because in sets, the beginning of our lectures, we have discussed about our sets. In that we have dealt with our disjoint sets, right? So now it's actually the same. When we compare the sets, it will be the same disjoint set, but here we are comparing with the events, so it will be disjoint events. So we can call our disjoint events or else it will be a mutually exclusive. So when or which events are said to be mutually exclusive or disjoint, right? So when there are no common elements in these two events, right? For example, initially we have written event 1, which is actually the event of occurring even numbers. So it will be 2, 4 and 6 for a dice. And the second event is event of occurring odd numbers. So it will be 1, 3 and 5. Right? So this is my event 1 and this will be my event 2. Right? For both of these events, if I observe, what else we can see here, event 1 and event 2. Right? For both of them, can we see any common element, any element in common? No, right? There is nothing in common. So from this E1 and even E2, these two are called as our disjoint events or else mutually exclusive, which means there are no any common elements common in these two events. So similarly, mutually non-exclusive events. So how we have a mutually exclusive, we will be having mutually non-exclusive events. So here the events which are not mutually exclusive are known as our non-exclusive, or else we can say them as compatible events. So similarly, for mutually exclusive, we can say them as incompatible events. So for mutually exclusive, we actually have three names, that is mutually exclusive or disjoint events or else incompatible events. So similarly, for mutually non-exclusive is nothing but simply opposite to our mutually exclusive. The events which are not actually mutually exclusive are called as, are known as our mutually non-exclusive events. So these mutually non-exclusive events are also called as compatible events. So now we are having independent. Next step of our events, we will be having our independent, dependent and equally likely events. So now start with our dependent events. Independent events. So when we say two events are independent, so when there is no dependent on each other, which means events are said to be independent if the happening of one event is not affected by the happening of the other. Which means to occur one event, it should not actually affect or relate with the another event of occurring, right? So those two events are called as independent events. So by the name itself we can say they both doesn't dependent on each other, right? So those kind of events are called as independent events. And then we are having dependent events. So two or more events are said to be dependent if the happening of one event affects the other event. So it can be a partial effect or else it can be a total effect. So the occurring or happening of one event will affect the happening or occurring of the other event. So those particular events are called as dependent events, right? So this is similarly how we have seen our opposite of simple to compound, mutually exclusive to non-exclusive. Similarly, independent and dependent events are actually quite opposite to each other. And the final type of events we are having here is equally likely event. So when we have when we going to talk about a event, when we are for example, if it's a dice, a probability of occurring a 2, probability of occurring a 3, it's like a event, right? So for any event which have the same chance of occurring, right? So which for any event, if they have same chance of occurring, so that particular event is called as our equally likely event. So for this equally likely event, we can take an example of our tossing a coin. So if I am tossing a coin and I am saying event A, let event A be getting a head. So event A be getting a head and event B be getting a tail, right? So here if you observe, both events A and B are said to be equally likely because both have actually same chance of occurring. So when for this particular case, we can say that the event of occurring both head and tail have the same chance of occurring. So these two events are called as equally likely events. So same with our dice, we can take our dice, throw a random die, throw it randomly, and then if we talk about event of getting 1, event of getting 2, event of getting 3, something like that. So all events are actually having the same chance of occurring. So all these events are also called as our equally likely events. So when we say equally likely events, they should have actually same chance of occurring. Then only we can say those events are nothing but equally likely events. So now let's see our next one. So till now we have dealt with our different types of events. So now let us see our relation between mutually exclusive and then our independent events. So we have seen our independent events. So independent are actually doesn't dependent on each other. So mutually exclusive is also disjoint sets, or else we can say disjoint events. So mutually exclusive events actually can't happen at the same time. So if we talk in terms of our mathematical point of view, our independent events, for example P of A and B, that can be equal to P of A into P of A because they are not dependent on each other. So for mutually exclusive, it will be a disjoint set because the P of A and B will be equal to 0. Both events are doesn't have any common elements. So by comparing these two definitions, we can say that events can't be independent and mutually exclusive at the same time, right? Because if they are independent, they will be having no intersection, they will be doesn't dependent on each other. So they will be having P of A and B can be written as P of A into P of B. But if we talk about mutually exclusive, so they doesn't have it common, so it will be equal to 0. So from this we can say that when a event is a mutually exclusive, it can't be a independent, which means both independent and mutually exclusive can't be taken place at the same time, right? So this is the thing we have to remember, that is nothing but our relation between independent events and then mutually exclusive event. So for an event, both mutually exclusive and independent events can't take place at the same time. So now let's see our next one, that is our complement of events. So as we know, in sets also we have discussed complementary of a set, if you remember, I guess. So similarly here we will be having our complement of events. So the complement of event A with respect to the sample space is nothing but it's the set of all the elements of S which are not present in our event A. Right, it's the same, the definition is actually same, but here we talk in terms of events, but in sets we talk in terms of set. Right, so if we are talking about a complement of A, it will be having all the elements from the sample space except the elements which are present in the event A. So which actually usually denoted by our A dash, A bar, or as A power C, which is A complementary. Right, so for this A complementary, here we are having few things you can see here. So the union of event 1 and event 2 is the event of at least one of the events happening. So if we are taking union of two events, which means if one event is a null set, the other event will actually happen, which means there can be possibility of both can occur, both can happen, or else at least one of them can happen. If you observe this E1 union E2, from this we can say that at least one of the event will be happening. So if we consider this intersection, here for an intersection both events has to be occur or else happen, because if one is a null set, there is no point of view of taking the intersection of it. So for this you can say that both events has to be occur. So for example, if I take an example of tossing a coin, then what will be a sample space for a tossing a coin? That will be heads and tails. Right, so now I am talking about event of getting head in tossing a coin. So let me be my event A, which is getting a like a head in the coin, so it will be H. So now what will be the A complementary from here? So A complementary is nothing but all the elements from the sample space apart from the elements in the event A. So here it will be only tail. Right, so from this you can say that like complement events is nothing but the same way how we are dealt in our sets chapter. So now let's see our algebra of events. So algebra of events, it's nothing but similar to our sets kind of thing, our denotion and everything. So here not A, it's nothing but our A complementary, A or B, which means any of it, which means at least one of them. So it will be a union. Or means union and means intersection. A but not B means A can be there but not B, so it will be A intersection B bar. Right, and then neither A nor B, so both can't be possible, so A bar intersection B bar. So at least one of A, B and C. So when we have at least, it means or, so it will be union of both. So exactly one of A and B. So one of, they haven't given both, so it will be one of. So first case it will be A bar intersection B bar, sorry, A bar intersection B union B bar intersection A. Right, so when we have exactly one, this will be our denotion. So all three of them, and we have here, so it will be intersection of all the three. Exactly 2, when we talk about 2, it will be alternately changing, so that will be having 3. So these are our notations we will use for our description of the events. So these are our events which we have, and these are our theoretic set type of notation, we can say. Just go through them once so that you will just have a review of what you have done in our sets and everything. So it's like a typical set thing, and then now we end up getting into our probability. So till now we have discussed our random experiment, types of events, sample space and everything. So now let's see what is actually a probability. So if a random experiment results in n mutually exclusive, equally likely and exhaustive outcomes out of m are favorable to the occurrence of an event, so then the probability is nothing but, so we can simply write our probability as number of favorable outcomes by total number of outcomes. Right, so total number of outcomes is nothing but our sample space. So our probability of event A will be our n of A, that is the number of elements, or as the total number of outcomes of the event by n of s, which is nothing but our sample space, which actually states the total number of outcomes, right? So our m and n will always be in between 0 and 1. So if we consider our m is nothing but event, which will always be less than equal to 0 and less than equal to our maximum number of elements, that is nothing but our number of elements in sample space, right? So if I denote this by m by n, right, so this will be my probability. If in case m will be equal to n, then our probability of the event will be equal to 1. If m is equal to 0, then our probability of event will be equal to 0. So this probability equal to 1 is nothing but we call this event as sure event, and the probability of the event is equal to 0, this event is called as impossible event, right? So the basic definition we can say for our probability is nothing but total number of favorable outcomes by number of favorable outcomes by total number of outcomes. So this is our basic thing we'll use for our probability. So to write our event and sample space, we should know our previous thing. That's why we have discussed our events and everything in the previous slides. So now let's do few questions here. So here the first one, in a single case with 2 fair dice, find the chance of getting doublet. So if for example I am having a dice, what will be my sample space? So it will be 6 into 6, it will be having 36, because if my first dice is having 1, second dice can have 1, 2, 3, so likewise until 1, 6. So similarly here 2, 1, 2, 2. So likewise here and here it will be 6, 1, and at last we will be having 6, 6. So this will be my sample space. So that is nothing but my sample space will have 36 elements in it. So now here the question is doublet. So how many doublets we will be having? So doublet is nothing but 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and 6, 6. So these 6 are nothing but our doublets. So our probability of the event 1, so let this be event 1, is nothing but how many number here? 6 by 36, which means 1 by 6. So this is our probability of the first event. So let us take the second one, sum of 7. So for the given space we should have actually sum as 7. So when we will be having sum as 7? So here 6 plus 1, 7. So here we will be having 1, and then in 2 we will be having 2 plus 5. So let me write here 1, 6, and then 2, 5, and then 3, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, and then 6, 1. Right, so again we will be having 6 where we actually get sum as 7. So it will be probability of our second event will be 6 by 36. Again we end up having 1 by 6. Right, we know our sample space. This is our sample space where we have 36 elements. So the next one here we are having is 2 fours. So when we can have 2 fours? Having 2 fours is the only one chance, which means only one time we will be having. So that is nothing but 4, 4, only 1. So the probability of this event, let it be event 3, will be equal to 1 by 36. So this is how we will be writing our probability. So for that, to write that probability, we should know our sample space and events, because our numerator is our number of elements in event and our denominator is our number of elements in the sample space to write a probability. So let's do one more question here. 7 accidents occur in a week. What is the probability that they take place on the same day? So here how many total number of accidents we can have? So 7 accidents occur in a week. So first we'll find the total number of ways accidents can happen. So 7 accidents in a week. So there can be a possibility of having total number of cases in 7 days. So 7 days and 7 accidents. So it will be 7 power 7. So our number of elements in sample space is nothing but 7 power 7. Because total number of ways in which our 7 accidents can happen in a week is nothing but in 7 days we can have like all 7 accidents can happen in a single day. So likewise, there is a chance. So our total number of elements in the sample space will be 7 power 7. So here our favorable outcomes is nothing but probability that takes place on the same day, right? Same day in the sense one day. So how many accidents they have given? 7 accidents. So it will be our n of e is nothing but 7 accidents in a one day. So the probability, that is our probability, let it be event A, is nothing but 7 by 7 power 7. So which is equal to 1 by 7 power 6. So the probability that all the accident takes place on the same day is nothing but 1 by 7 power 6, right? So this is our very basic introduction, we can say, or else our basic random experiments and probability. So in this we are having our different kinds of and theorems in our probability that we'll be covering in our next lectures of it. Thank you.